All right, welcome to this live recording session for How to Thrive in IT. So just if you have not been here before, this is just a weird way of doing things, I recognize, but it's what works. There's a way for me to just make sure I've got the time set aside to do these recordings. And so that's exactly why I do this live. And then I go after the fact and make it a nice, beautiful podcast episode. But the cool thing about joining me live is you'll have some time to be able to vote on a theme song for the episode that we'll be generating at the end of this today. So that gets to choose which theme song gets featured when the podcast goes live. So that's always a fun little feature. So you'll be able to do that here live, or there's some time after the fact. It's fine. That's why I leave these up on all the platforms that these stream live to as well. It's just a little added bonus for you, a little behind the scenes, I guess you could say, lets you participate and have some ownership of this. So as we're going along here, if anybody's tuning in live, you'll have the opportunity to send me any chat messages. I may not respond right away because I am in that process of recording. And I might make some mistakes and I might say, I'm going to try that again. And I might just clap my hands or bang the microphone or something just to indicate that I've got a thing I need to review on the recording later. But that's neither here nor there. Get some pauses along the way as well. Like the one we're about to have, where I go silent for a few moments and then introduce our podcast. So let's get started. All right. Welcome back to the How to Thrive in IT podcast. Lovely. I'm going to try that again because I think that might have had a system sound that was in there, and I apologize. And if not, no big deal. I'm going to do it anyway. Welcome back to the How to Thrive in IT podcast. My name is DJ, and I'm glad to be here with you today. So welcome, my friend. So today we're going to be talking about what I call the crab bucket problem. And so that is going to be I've been talking a lot about things like mindset and things like that. I'm hearing a lot of stories, and actually in the process of writing a story as I'm recording this, I'm actually writing a book that is a novel set in an IT department in a healthcare company that is experiencing a lot of these kinds of toxicities and things like that we deal with, unfortunately, a lot in IT work. Just in general, I think most people experience levels of toxicity at some point in their careers. But when it's an IT thing, sometimes it gets a little rough. And so I wanted to spend some time with that and I'm sorry. I've been just a little background here for those of you with me live here. I've been asking AI to generate images for this episode, and I just had to bring this up on the screen just because I felt that it was absolutely hilarious. I mean, look how angry they are at each other. But it took about 5 prompts this morning to finally find the one I was going to share here, but I just had to share that one. So that in any case, let's try this again. So easily distracted. It's gonna be one of those days. I just know it. So let's get that started again. So when you're facing this kind of toxicity in your work environment, a lot of times it can feel like you are trying to get out and others are trying to sabotage you or that sort of thing. And so the story goes something like this. If you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket, what will happen is if any of those crabs try to climb out of the bucket, then the other crabs in the bottom will reach out and try and pull that crab back down. So escaping the crab bucket is more and more difficult because the other crabs are always trying to drag you back down. So let me ask you this question, my friend. Is this an environment you find yourself in? Is this something that you would want to avoid in the future? If so, there are some things we're going to go over today that are going to help us with that exact challenge. And so that is why I'm titling this episode The Crab Bucket. So let's get into this, shall we? I'm going to give you a series of tips today that are going to be hopefully helpful to you, how to get past a toxic environment. And what I'm describing in the book is actually multiple layers of toxicity that have grown into a culture at this company and the story of how they overcome that. And so a lot of these things that I'm going to be talking about today are actually going to make its way into the book, believe it or not. But the story centers around a gentleman named Andrew, and he is dealing with a group of toxic individuals at his office. One is just kind of lazy, but also doesn't want to leave his job and finds excuses to kind of make everything seem like other people's fault. And at the same time, does everything that he can to keep everyone at the level they're at by gossips and all sorts of things like that. And then you have a IT director who is always having a culture of blame around him and always invites everybody to the meetings so that whenever something goes wrong, he can say things like, well, everybody was there and they all said it was okay, and things like that. And that level of toxicity. At the same time, there's the constant threats from this gentleman. And this is based on things I've actually encountered, unfortunately. But there are the constant threats from this gentleman of, if you leave, then I'll make sure you never work in this town again, kind of things. Words that I've actually heard. And so there's a keeping people in that toxic environment by things like that. And there's other people that are, when you're in an environment like that, trying to thrive in any kind of way, whether it's leaving or being promoted or whatever that looks like, is very difficult when you have people that are always either sabotaging your work, trying to blame you for problems that have been had. And when it comes to working in information technology services, especially, this is where you're kind of user exposed, if you will, where you have, things that you're supporting that users can complain about. Or in some cases, like in healthcare, for example, healthcare IT, about 3/4 of the IT staff in most hospitals are there just to keep the systems up and running and keep users productive. And if something breaks in the chain there, a lot of times what happens is kind of an all hands, everybody get in here, let's fix this kind of a thing. And so there's a lot of finger pointing, and there's a lot of the problems being magically solved when somebody just says, oh, hey, I made a mistake on this. I'm just going to correct it real quick and make sure nobody notices. This is the kind of things that happen all the time. And so it's a layer of toxicity where nobody's taking ownership of problems. Nobody's taking, people are taking credit for the result, but there's no ownership of the problem. And so there's no way to learn and move forward. I'm probably jumping ahead here a little bit, but I wanted to give you some strategies today for how to get past these things. And so let's talk about a few of them. I'm just going to go through a bunch in this episode, so just hang with me. The first thing to do, and this is probably the most important thing when it comes to surviving this toxicity or the crab bucket problem, and that is to make sure you have boundaries in place. And I've talked before about this, but there's a difference between expectations and agreements. And when it comes to expectations, the problem is that expectations can be different from one end to another. You may have a boss or a supervisor or a leader, or in some cases like a CEO, whatever that looks like, that has an expectation of what you do, what your results should be, that sort of thing. And you may have a completely different set of expectations for what is expected of you. You may have a different series of things you are looking at as far as, okay, here's my process, here's the things I'm responsible for. Those might differ from time to time. And that's not healthy, because what we want is an agreement. We want something preferably written down that is saying, here is what you do when you do it and the areas of responsibility you have. That's a very simple agreement, right? So I get paid for this because I do this. It's a job description, right? Well, a lot of times we're going outside of the job description whenever it suits us, or whenever it suits them. They go outside the job description and just tell you to do something just because they said so. Well, a lot of times that's dangerous. So what you need to do in that case is hold them to those agreements and be able to say things like, oh, are we changing my job description? And those kind of things are able to set those limits around your work and you being able to stick to them. And you're not saying no. What you're saying is, do we need to change our method of operating when you're being approached with that? It also comes with those kind of drive-bys that we talk about in IT, where you have somebody that is upset about something or is buried by something or something's gone wrong and they just need a resolution right now. So they approach you with threats of wondrous degree if you don't fix this right now, that sort of thing. Those drive-bys where you have to drop what you're doing, and at least that's their perspective, that you have to drop what you're doing. And so having a process in place and boundaries around that, it keeps you from those demands of you that are sometimes even not even reasonable. They're just adding to the toxicity and adding to the trauma that you face. And so having a system in place where you are able to be outside of that and say, this is the system we follow. You need to follow the system. You can't just come up to my desk and demand something of me. This is otherwise, we're not following our own agreements here. If your office doesn't have those kind of agreements, then you got a bigger problem. But that's what I'm talking about. The other thing about that is, when it comes to toxicity and boundaries, avoid gossip. There's a lot of that goes on either in the office or sometimes, like I'm putting in the story, there's a lot of stuff that goes outside of the office where people have those little meetups after work or whatever, and they think it's just okay to vent, and it ends up turning into gossip, which is ultimately toxic in the end. There's just never anything good that comes out of gossip. There's always if somebody's not there to defend themselves, that's gossip. Okay. Number 2, and this is having a system of support in place. Now, this is a couple of different things. I've heard the term allies and things like that. I don't necessarily always like that. I think you should have people on your side, sure, but it shouldn't be us against them. And so when I say things like allies, I don't mean us against them. I mean people you can confide in with struggles, and people that are standing with the same kind of values you have, I guess you could say, basically, where you have a group of people that are surrounding you and holding you up in your workplace. I say all the time that you are not going to rise to the occasion. You'll only rise to your level of preparedness. In that same regard, there's a quote from Jim Rohn that says, you'll be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. In a work environment, especially in IT, we spend a lot of time outside the home. We spend a lot of time not with our friends. We do spend a lot of time in office environments and around people, and this can be virtual. It doesn't have to be like literally face-to-face with them or in the same group of cubicles. It could be even on Slack, where something happens and your first response is to start typing something to someone. I can't believe I was not fired for this way back in 2011, I think. I was so frustrated with somebody, and they were, unfortunately, they're not really like this anymore, which is great to see. But this person was, just talking nonsense sometimes, and I don't know what. I think this is just me being immature in my career and in life back then. But I started basically gossiping right there on chat and saying, "Oh my gosh, whatever." It's like, I can't believe this is going on. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was a long time ago, but it was gossip. Was this one problem? I wasn't replying to or I wasn't sending a message to the person I thought I was sending it to because it was about this person. I sent it in a direct message to them. We won't rise to the occasion. We'll only rise to our level of preparedness. And so that can be a thing too. But that's what I'm saying is having a supporting environment around you keeps you from things like that. And when I say supporting, I don't mean people you can go gossiping to. I don't mean people you can go, quote unquote, bitch to. That's not what that is. Supporting and being an ally, if you will, which is, like I said, loathe the term a little bit. It's that emotional support. It is, yeah, okay, it's that empathy kind of thing. It's like, yeah, this stinks, but got your back. We're going to get through this. Or in some cases, what do you need to be successful? What do you need support-wise? Is there an area of technology that is lacking that I can help with, or find someone to help you with that? So you're not having to shirk the responsibility. You're just finding the help you need to make it work. It's a critical thing. So making sure you have a support structure in place is number 2. Number 3, and this is one that you don't want to fall into a level of making this a toxicity in and of itself. Please hear me on that. But I do want you to document. One of the things that I'm encouraging a lot of people to do, and will be encouraging more and more over the coming year, by the way, is to keep a written log. And there's a couple of reasons I do this. One is so I don't have to have Outlook open all day. I've talked about this before, I think, where you have times of the day where you shouldn't be checking email. You shouldn't have those inputs. You should be just focused on the work and being in that kind of meaningful focus, I guess you could say, or just you're focused on the task. But along with that, when you have incidents that are kind of this toxicity and these kind of requests that are unreasonable, or you see things that are happening, keeping a written record. When I say written, I mean like physically with a pen and a paper or a planner, like what I got coming up soon. Having that written out allows you to have it not only documented in something that you can take with you and is private, but also there's an art to, making sure it's happening on a regular basis and just kind of making that your habit. But there is a, wow. And see, now I'm blanking on the name, but there is a kind of neuroplasticity that happens when you're writing things down. It becomes more permanent, and you're more likely to retain not only what happened, but the way you kind of felt at the moment, and be able to identify that in the future and avoid those kind of situations, kind of proactively see them coming up and avoid them. You're much more likely to be able to do that if you have written down those incidents. And like I said, this is not to be, well, I'll get them someday. This is to be able to grow and personally try to avoid situations to get caught up in these kind of toxicities. And so it's really that kind of thing. Now, there's also times, and I'll just be blunt, that you will need to protect yourself. There will be times where you'll have, like the situations I'm describing in the book, for example, where you'll have a supposed leader, more manager, I would say in this kind of case, but someone who is setting you up to fail. So that you take the blame for something that they already know is going to go wrong. Or sometimes it's maybe not intentional. Maybe it'll be like, well, just in case it goes wrong, I want this person to be taking the brunt of that. Maybe it's something like that. And so I think as far as that goes, yeah, like I said, it's I don't want to make it so that it's like your secret book of when they go to fire me, I'm going to be able to say all these things. That's not the purpose for this. But at the same time, I do feel it's important to protect yourself and have something that if something does come up and you need to report a behavior or a something dangerous, that you have a written record of what happened. Now, I think I have a slightly different perspective of this based on my time, believe it or not, as a security guard. And we're going back 30 years on this, just full disclosure. But I spent some time as a security guard when I was in college. Yeah, college, yeah. I had to think back for a second there. And one of the things that I learned very quickly is to have a notebook and to just observe and report, that sort of thing. I think they even made a movie about that or something like that, but I never saw it, but I hear it was a thing. But what happened with that is I learned how important it was to write it down in the moment because our memories get skewed. And if there's something like an incident that's happening, the last thing you want is to have a series of events behind that are skewed by what's happened. You want that dispassionate view of everything that actually happened in the moment. So having journaling time every day is very important for that reason. So you can actually write things down and get them down on paper, good and bad. But honestly, that's why documentation is so important of that sort of thing. And also, just as an FYI, just as a general practice, getting things documented and getting that process of writing things down, like I said, it increases the level of permanence in your brain, but it also allows you to spot problems more rapidly, much more rapidly. And so if you are someone who is an aspiring architect, or you are an architect, this is crucially important for you to be able to get these skills down, because documentation is going to be everything about your job. That's if you can't write it down well, then you're ultimately not going to go very far as an architect. As an engineer, very similar kind of things. If you come up with a solution to a problem, write it down. Especially if you're in a toxic environment. Write down the things that go well as much as the things that don't go well. It is just one of those things. Like I said, there's a level of being able to defend yourself that is very important in this field. And that's why I don't want to shirk over that. Now, like I said, I don't want this to become something where it's toxic in and of itself, where you've just got your secret book and you'll show them someday. I don't want you to get all like red stapler on me and building, I burned down the building. I don't want you to be like that. I don't want you to be Milton. Okay. I don't want that of you. I want you to just be able to be a competent professional who takes things from that perspective. Speaking of competent professionals, I can speech well. Speaking of competent professionals, this week's sponsor is me, a competent professional. In all seriousness, though, I am giving my listeners an opportunity here to book a time with me to discuss your career and your next steps. And so this is a way to spend about a half hour with me and see what things that I would suggest if I were in your shoes. And so this is a chance that I won't be doing forever. Obviously, this is something that will eventually fill up my calendar and I don't want to do too much of. But in these kind of beginning stages, this is kind of like your early listening bonus, I guess you could say, of being able to get some time with me. And so all you have to do is go to thrive-it.com/PCNS30. If you need to remember that, just think of thrive-it.com/podcast, next steps, 30 minutes. So it's thrive-it.com/PCNS30. And you'll be able to book a call with me and we'll think about what your next steps are for your career and just kind of look at that from that perspective and see what that looks like, whether or not you're going to want to stay in where you are and grow there, grow more technically, grow more professionally, get more into soft skills. Who knows? But yeah, we'll take some time and we'll talk about that. So that is your episode sponsor, yours truly. Let's go 3 more here. The next thing you need to know to avoid toxicity in your work environment is keeping lines of communication open. And what I say, it's kind of like what we were talking about before with having people that you can be supported by. But this is especially true if you have times where you feel like you might be threatened or unsafe. If you don't have a method of communication with folks, like, and I'm not talking just HR, I'm talking about the people around you. If you don't have those open lines of communication ahead of time, that can be a real challenge when it does come time to actually need them. I say this because a lot of people in IT, there's a couple different things that I see, and we just need to be honest here. It is a male-dominated field. And so you see two things that are very prevalent when it comes to communications. One is that when somebody's feeling challenged, their default answer is very often to just keep it to themselves because they don't want to appear weak. They don't want to appear like they don't have it together or they're incompetent. We talked about this in episode 1. It was that important that I wanted to start off all of this with that. So if you haven't listened to podcast episode 1, go back and listen to that after this episode. But that's about imposter syndrome. It's an important thing to confront. And I think communications with others and being honest, but also having that way to express challenges that are going on and be able to be proactive about that is more important than you worrying about the consequences or you worrying about being perceived as incompetent. The more you communicate, the more competent you will obviously be seen as. So you don't need, that's the key around that. I probably should have included that in the episode, is that open and honest communication is the way to get around that imposter syndrome. It's been working wonders for me, I will say. But the other thing that I see a lot of in the IT realm, and this is very much more true of the gentleman out there, is that sometimes you do feel confident in that regards, and you go overboard with that. And what happens is that you are talking, but you're not communicating. And so there will be I always think of the Saturday Night Live episode or a sketch way back in the day with Nick Burns, the IT guy, where somebody's having a challenge and he's like, move, and just moves him out of the way and just fixes the problem and then goes on with his life. That's the kind of, that's makes for a toxic environment. It keeps that going. And so when I say communicate openly, I mean, try to avoid being either of those people. Find that middle ground where you're confident, you're competent, but you're also well communicated. And so there's a ways to do that. And I think practice is what makes perfect here. I just said the thing that I hate saying. Practice makes perfect. That's not the way that works. Practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent. And so that's I should be very, very upfront about that. The practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So yeah, that's a very important thing. So anyway, the thing is, you want to avoid sounding accusatory. You want to avoid things that are not based on facts. That is an advantage we have. We tend to think more in the absolutes because we are working in a technology field where things aren't often, well, they might be open to interpretation, but there's usually just a root cause to almost everything that goes wrong, right? Similar kind of thing with your communication. It needs to be based in those kind of realities. Another thing that's not as popular with people in IT, but it is important, and I've been reminded of this recently, is taking care of yourself. As the eyes roll back in my head and I put up the air fingers quotes and say self-care, yeah, it is important. Whether it's just getting out of exercise, getting some exercise, getting out and touching grass, eating things that are good for you instead of, relying on the snacks in the vending machine is the classic kind of thing there, or whatever you can find at the coffee shop or whatever that looks like. Avoiding those kind of things and being purposeful about your health, whatever that looks like. But there's a level of not only that being better for you physically, but there's a stress level that can go down with having a challenging workout. Now, just going for a walk, that is refreshing, but it may not actually have the de-stressing effect that you want. And this is something that I've been challenged with recently. I've actually gone almost a year without really, truly challenging myself on a regular basis. I have been very scattershot as far as my exercise goes, and it's something that I am definitely going to be working on in the coming weeks to get better about. I don't want to leave that for just a New Year's resolution or something like that. It's something that needs to be an ingrained habit, and there needs to be a reason for it. And that focusing in on that, again, my eyes roll, self-care, is really crucial for that. But the thing I'm realizing as a perspective is, well, I'll just tell you that I've had a scare with health pretty recently, where I came to realize, oh, hey, if I'm not around, what's that going to look like for my family? What's that going to look like for my wife? And so there's a little bit of two things with that. One was making sure I have methods to cope with the stress, but also just spending more time with people that are important to me. And again, going back to the very first thing we said about setting boundaries, setting up time boundaries as well is very important. And so I'm very fortunate that I've, over the last few years, been able to put some boundaries in where I can say no. That has been something that's been very. It took years to get there, but I'm to that point now where I can successfully say no, and mean it and stick to it. But hobbies, everything like that, it doesn't have to be just exercise. It's always good to have it, but things that you enjoy that fill your tank, so to speak. Make sure you have those. It's really important when you're in a toxic environment at work to have those moments of being refilled, because that toxicity just takes so much out of you. It's so important to have those methods. Another one that was on this list that was kind of generated for me that I'm kind of going off of here, and I'm glad it was here. It's encouraging that I'm not the only one banging this drum. In a couple weeks ago, we talked about the notion of investing in yourself and then the ways to do that. And I kind of gave a tier list, if you will. And what we said there was, one of the things you want to be looking at is whether or not you need extra training or coaching or mentorship in that regards. And so it's not just about finding new skill sets, although that's important, especially if you want to get, especially if you have let's say you're in a toxic department and you want to get out of that toxic department, and there's one, kind of up the street or even in the same company that is not that way, and you just need to develop some skill sets to get there. By all means, let's work towards that end, because that's probably not just the toxicity you're trying to escape at that point. You probably have other things going on in your life, that you're trying to get ahead with. And so by all means, if that's the motivator that gets you there, let's dive into it. Let's get some training for you. But a lot of times you just need the extra direction. And that's what coaching should be about. I do find that some people confuse coaching with education, and there's some element of that being true, but largely for me, coaching is you having somebody that can kind of see around the corners and kind of either has been there or can look at your perspective and say, there's this concern over here we might want to look at, and that sort of thing, and kind of directing and keeping you accountable towards those ends. So when it comes to managing these toxic situations, that's a big piece of that. Managing stress, learning leadership skills. That's another thing that really is, it's hard to really teach. You can't just go through a course on leadership, right? It doesn't really work that way. You have to have some real world interaction, and that's why in 2025 I'll be introducing some coaching programs that are around this. So if you want to learn more about that, again, thrive-it.com/PCNS30, and mention that on the call that you want to learn more about coaching, and we'll kind of make that a focus of that call. I'm happy to do it. And there's lots of options in that regards of helping your company see that it's something that'll be beneficial to you. And I will say this, I have encountered people that are in these toxic environments that they'll say things that are definitive, like, oh, they'll never agree to that, or we won't have a budget for that. And I got to tell you right now that if that's your mindset, then that's exactly what it's going to be. If you have a mindset of nobody's ever going to be able to help you, you'll never be able to afford it on your own anyway, so you're just going to be stuck, then the toxic environment has you, and that's a crab that is grabbing you and keeping you from escaping the bucket, okay? You need to get past sorry. You need to get past the notion of that scarcity. And we're going to talk about that in another episode coming up, by the way. I've got that marked as a whole discussion we're going to have about that, escaping that sense of scarcity. It's a whole different bag. But for this discussion today, in terms of getting out of toxic environments, you just need to know that there are methods, and you don't have to go it alone. And there are ways to get the support, even ways that are being supported by your company. The whole budget thing is usually to keep you from asking. So ask. Anyway, we'll get into that. So that's something we can talk about more strategies down the road, or like I said, just go ahead and get some time with me, and we can talk more about that if you want to look more at coaching very seriously, and we can figure out the right path for you. But before we get into our final bit of this discussion today, let's get into our resource of the week.
Brings the heat, something new every week. Get ready to click and see something awesome for you and me. Resource of the week. Oh yeah, resource of the week. What will it be this week? Get ready to take a peek.
All right.
Resource of the week.
Haven't you heard of this?
What will it be this week?
Take that down a notch, shall we? All right. Resource of the week this week is my friends at ButcherBox. Now, this is a cool service that I've been using for several years now. I talked about eating healthy and having options and having a plan. And what has been helpful to me is always having a bunch of healthy meats and fish and pork and whatever that looks like available to me at all times. And so ButcherBox is a service that sends those to me every single month. Actually, I have it tuned in to where it's every 6 weeks for me or whatever, but it's a great service. Actually, it comes in nice big boxes that are insulated. So there's always concerns about, well, the frozen meat coming delivered. No, it's been great because they use like dry ice in the boxes and things like that. But the point is that the meat is really good quality, and it's a predictable cost every month. And so that has been something that's been great as well, is having that consistency. Now, the great thing is that almost every month that I do this, there is some sort of great deal where you can sign up with my link, which is thrive-it.com/bbbox. That's thrive-it.com/bbbox, and try out your first box at a discount. A lot of times they'll have lifetime deals. Like, since I've signed up so long ago, I get Well, I can tell you, we're friends here. You may not get the same deal, but I got bacon for life. I got chicken wings for life. They're just extra. They add on every month, and they've been faithful to that. They've never not delivered it. So it doesn't cost me anything extra. I just get these things added on all the time, and it's fantastic. That's just the style of a company that they are, and that's why I've done business with them for well over 4 years now. So I highly recommend ButcherBox as your resource of the week. Go get your meat. thrive-it.com/bbbox. And that's your resource of the week. I should also put a disclaimer on that I'm an affiliate. So they're not sponsoring this. I'm an affiliate for them. So when you buy, you get a special deal, and they'll usually have some sort of method of compensating me, which helps what I'm doing here with this podcast. So I definitely appreciate it, but I'd recommend it regardless, even if I wasn't being compensated. But it's a great way to help out and for me to give you a resource that's actually meaningful. So let's get on to the last little bits here. And this is knowing when it's time to consider your options. There comes a point where you have to realize that your influence is not necessarily going to change an environment. And this is unfortunate, but it's true. It's important to realize your boundaries as well. Or sorry, your boundaries, yes, but also your capabilities of influence. I tell this to people all the time when it comes to the whole, making sure your average is high as far as the influences in your life and that sort of thing, and the average of the people you're spending time with. Along with that is you have to be willing to let it go. And there comes a point in a lot of people's careers where they realize that they are in a toxic environment and they need to break free of those brass handcuffs. They're not gold, they're brass. All right. You need to break out of those because it's in some cases literally killing you. In some cases, that toxic environment that you're working in is literally undermining your health, and it is literally causing the kind of problems that will make it so that you're not supporting your family anymore. Sorry to be so dramatic, but it is true. Sometimes we need to break free of those toxic environments. And so that's my encouragement to you, is to be willing to do that. I think it's hard to say sometimes how to judge this. And this is why I don't recommend, getting other people you're supported with, especially if you can, that are in your company but not in your department. I know that's sometimes very difficult, but that actually is a crucial success item, is to have people that are, maybe not in your direct line, but they can still see from that inside perspective what's going on, and they can help you identify when it might be time to move on, or if you are going to be able to create an influence of change in that situation. But unfortunately, I would say probably 8 times out of 10, the toxicity is not going to be fixed by you saying something. That's just the unfortunate truth. You not participating might bring it down a notch. It might influence some others not to participate as well. But the overall toxicity environment, sometimes you can't really overcome. You can't change. And there comes a point where you have to realize that is a strain, and it has to be sometimes let go of. And so this can mean a lot of things, like making sure you are connecting with others on LinkedIn. LinkedIn actually is a crucial tool right now. If you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, you should be. Just saying it that way, because we look out for each other. And if every time there's been a major series of layoffs, the next series of stories that I hear is, oh, someone connected me with so-and-so. These are real. This happened with me. In fact, I made a YouTube video on this earlier this year in 2024 that you can see. Look that up. It's on our thrive-it.com/YT is our YouTube channel link. But honestly, there was a power in that network in getting me out of a situation that was pretty rough. So don't underestimate that. If you are someone, well, actually, just regardless, make sure your resume is up to date. It's right along with the documentation. Every time you've had a win, write it down. And whenever you've had a problem you've solved, write that down. These are good things to be able to put in a cover letter and sometimes even in a resume itself. When you're able to demonstrate those things. So write down the positives for sure. You've overcome challenges. Find ways to write that out. Use other people to bounce ideas off of. I hate to say it, but even using like AI tools to say how can I word this in a way that doesn't sound toxic or that doesn't sound accusatory. There's ways to do that. Of saying improving your language in that way. And so just keeping yourself ready for a job change if it needs to happen. Because keeping yourself in the toxic environment just because you like the work, odds are really good you're going to be able to find the work in a non-toxic environment. Odds are really good. That has been true in my life and so many people that I've talked to. So I would encourage you in that not to think in terms of those brass handcuffs they're not brass. They're not gold. They're brass. They're not worth anything. Just get rid of them. So hopefully that is something that is helpful to you. But in any case we talk about here, if there are levels of toxicity that are affecting you psychologically and you are feeling any kind of sense of dread that doesn't go away, if you have thoughts of suicide, please reach out for help. Reach out to some of us. Reach out to a hotline. I recommend BetterHelp.com. I'm not an affiliate with them or anything like that. It's just a service that I've used in these kind of situations that got me out of it. I was able to be matched with somebody that actually was helpful. So if you're at that level where that toxicity is a threat to your life in that literal kind of way, please get help. We want you around. Just because you're in a toxic environment doesn't mean that's the rest of us. Might be your perspective sometimes, and I want you to know that you have options. We're here for you. Well, that does it for me this week. One more thing before we go. I just want to thank our seasonal sponsor, which is 11 Talents Publishing, publisher of my books, including Just Do This, A Simpler Way to Succeed in IT. And you can get a copy of this book on hardcover. All you have to do is answer a few questions on a survey, and you'll be able to do that. And so if you just go to thrive-it.com/current survey, the way that works is you'll be able to, well, currently it's set up to where it'll just take you right to a page where you'll be able to set your own price on the hardcover. So if you want to just make it the same price as Amazon, the $48, great. If you can pay $5, great. Just help me cover the cost of printing and shipping, and it is yours. I'm not worried about profit here. That's not what this is about. I just want you to get the information and let this bless your life. In the book, we talk about a lot of a services methodology, but we talk a lot about IT careers in general and just little tips that I've learned over 20 plus years of how to survive all this. And so hopefully it's an easy read. I hear that every now and then from people that they felt it was an easy read. But regardless, this is my gift to you. All you have to do is answer a few questions for us to help us understand you better, how we can better serve you. And then you'll get a link to be able to name your own price on Just Do This, A Simpler Way to Succeed in IT. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. It was great to be talking through. I know this is a heavy topic, and hopefully these 7 tips will have been useful to you to be able to overcome the crab bucket in your own lives. So until next time, this is DJ saying, don't just survive IT. You've got to thrive IT. See you next time, everybody. All right. Not sure what's going on with the lights today. It's all like whitewashed and weird. But that's all right. Yeah, this is we're more about the podcast and the video anyway. So it's not really the focus, but this is kind of like just kind of one of those weird moments. It's like, what's going on here? Maybe if we change the background lighting, it'll change for us or something. I don't know. Who knows? In any case, what we do now is we make a song. And so those of you that are tuning in or keeping with me, we'll have a chance to actually create a song based on today's episode. And so let me grab my notes here, and we'll get suno.com up here. Yeah, all right. So what we're going to do here is we will put some lyrics up in here, and I think what we'll do first is I'll just have it generate some lyrics for us here. So we'll say let's see I'm saying emotionally serious. I'll see if it actually gets what I'm talking about this, but I'll say emotionally serious but encouraging song about surviving toxicity in an IT work environment. Include 7 themes, and those are setting boundaries, spell, seeking support from others, documenting everything, communicating openly. All right. Focusing on self-care, getting training or coaching, keeping your options for other work open. The song should be titled Escaping the Crab Bucket. Or maybe Escape from. Escape from the Crab Bucket? Yeah, we'll try it out. Feel free to chat any input you have here. Anything that I should include as a theme, anything that stood out to you. Let's have it write the song first here. We'll tweak a little bit here as we go. But okay, let's see. Can I expand this at all? Yeah, there we go. In the heart of the cubicle's bright screens glare, typing away the hours you wrestle despair. Like, nice. Gotta draw the lines firm. Let them know you care. Boundaries are your shield in the toxic air. Nice. Reach out to the ones who got your back for real. Seek support. Find those who feel what you feel. In numbers we're stronger. See how wounds heal. Together we can face this hard like iron and steel. Escape from the crowd bucket. Rise above the noise, document the battle, reclaim your voice. Freedom lies ahead in the choices we make. Rise and shine, and this darkness won't take. Now, what we have to hear in our chorus every single time, this is just my rule, is we got to have our theme in there. So that don't just survive IT, gotta thrive IT. Let me see how I can put this in there in a clever kind of way. And be free. You know, I think I'm going to take this as a tag. All right, so the chorus. Rise and shine, this darkness won't take. Let's make that rise and shine. Let's see. Escape from the crab bucket and be free. Rise above the. Let's see. Maybe not rise above. I don't know if I like that. Wow, I'm kind of stuck here. Let's see. Not to survive with tea. Escape from the bucket. Be free. Tune in each week. It's the place to be. See what happens? You see what happens when nobody says anything? I get all cheesy on you. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put the chorus. Verse 3. Chorus. Bridge. Tag. Chorus. Now, type of song. Those of you that are here with me live get to vote on the style of music. I think I know where I'm going with this, but it feels like I always do rock, and this industrial rock is kind of like calling out to me here. That might be what we do today, unless somebody says something different. I was also thinking maybe doing something more of a hip hop feel. Yeah. Okay. I think hip hop might be. I wonder if it knows a way to say. Like more of a. Like how would I describe Beastie Boys? I mean, let me describe the style. Let's see. Let's call this rock / hip hop funk. I don't know how to say that. It's like a yeah. All right. Let's grab crab bucket, yo. Oh, didn't like that. Maybe I didn't like that. Here we go. This is either going to be really awesome or really, really bad. You never know, yo. All right. It's taking a minute here. It's taking a beat. All right.
In the heart of a cubicle, bright screens glare, typing up away the hours that you wrestle despair. You gotta draw the lines firm, let them know you care. Boundaries are your shield in the toxic air. Reach out to the ones who got your back for real. Seek support, find those who feel what you feel. In numbers we are strong to see how wounds heal. Together we can face this like iron and steel. Don't just survive IT, escape from the crap bucket and be free. You gotta thrive IT, tune in each week, it's the place to be. Communicate openly, don't let shadows stay. Clear the air, find the words you've been afraid to say. Truth cuts through the hurt, shows a better way. Let honesty guide you at the break of day. Don't just survive IT, escape from the crap bucket and be free. You've gotta thrive IT, tune in each week, it's the place to be. Communicate openly, don't let shadows stay. Clear the air, find the words you've been afraid to say. Truth cuts through the hurt, shows a better way. Let honesty guide you at the break of day. Don't just survive IT, escape from the crap bucket and be free. You've gotta thrive IT, tune in each week, it's the place to be. Don't just survive IT, it's the place to be. Self-care's not a luxury, it's a need unmet. Focus on your heart, let your soul reset. Find the time to breathe away from the net. In the stillness you will find the peace you've yet to get. Skill up, get the training, know your worth and more. Coaching guides you steady through the working war. Every new lesson opens another door. Don't settle for the grind when you can soar. Document the battle, reclaim your voice. Freedom lies ahead in the choices that we make. Don't just survive IT, escape from the crap bucket and be free. You've gotta thrive IT, tune in each week, it's the place to be. Don't just survive IT, it's the place to be.
Okay. Okay. That was a thing that happened. I mean, it wasn't horrible. Let's see how this one goes.
In the heart of the cubicles, bright screens glare, tapping away the hours as you wrestle despair. You gotta draw the lines firm, let them know you care. Boundaries are your shield in the toxic air. Reach out to the ones who got your back for real. Seek support, find those who feel what you feel. In numbers we are stronger, see how wounds heal. Together we can face this like iron and steel. Don't just survive IT, escape from the crap bucket and be free. You've got to thrive IT, tune in each week, it's the place to be. Communicate openly, don't let shadows stay. Clear the air, find the words you've been afraid to say. Truth cuts through the hurt, shows a better way. Let honesty guide you at the break of day. Don't just survive IT, escape from the crap bucket and be free. stay. Clear the air, find the words you've been afraid to say. Truth cuts through the hurt, shows a better way. Let honesty guide you at the break of day. Don't just survive IT, escape from the crap bucket and be free. You've got to thrive IT. Tune in each week, it's a place to be. Self-care's not a luxury, it's a need unmet. Focus on your heart, let your soul reset. Find the time to breathe away from the net. In the stillness you will find the peace you've yet to get. Skill up, get the training, know your worth and more. Coaching guides you steady through the working war. Every new lesson opens another door. Don't settle for the grind when you can soar. Document the battle, reclaim your voice. Freedom lies ahead in the choices that we make. Don't just survive IT, escape from the crap bucket and be free. You've got to thrive IT. Tune in each week, it's a place to be.
Well, all right then. I want to see what happens if we go hardcore rap. I'm just morbidly curious what that's going to be like, and I think we got the credits to do it. So let's just go ahead and we'll have a bonus today. A little some extra music to get me demonetized. Long story. It's something that's happened to me on Facebook where there's a literally 2 seconds of a AI generated music that I had, and somehow Facebook is claiming that as somebody else's copyright, and even though it's 2 seconds long and it's not theirs, whatever. And so they're claiming it and giving someone else all the royalties from that. So let's just say I'm not driving any traffic towards Facebook right now. Yeah. So let's see what this does with hardcore rap.
In the heart of the cubicles, bright screens glare, typing away the hours as you wrestle to spare. You gotta draw the line firm, let them know you care. Boundaries are your shield to the toxic air. Reach out to the ones who got your back for real. Seek support, find those who feel what you feel. In numbers we are strong to see how wounds heal. Together we can face this like iron and steel. Don't just survive IT, escape from the crap bucket and be free. You've got to thrive IT. Tune in each week, it's a place to be. Communicate openly, don't let shadows stay. Clear the air, find the words you've been afraid to say. Truth cuts through the hurt, shows a better way. Let honesty guide you at the break of day. Don't just survive IT, escape from the crap bucket and be free. You've got to thrive IT. Tune in each week, it's a place to be. Place to be. Self-care's not a luxury, it's a need unmet. Focus on your heart, let your soul reset. Find the time to breathe away from the net. In the stillness you will find the peace you've yet to get. Skill up, get the training, know your worth and more. Coaching guides you steady through the working war. Every new lesson opens another door. Don't settle for the grind when you can soar. Document the battle, reclaim your voice. Freedom lies ahead in the choices that we make. Don't just survive IT, escape from the crap bucket and be free. You've got to thrive IT. Tune in each week, it's a place to be. shows a better way. Let honesty guide you at the break of day. Chase the place to be. 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 Self-care's not a luxury, it's a need unmet. Focus on your heart, let your soul reset. Find the time to breathe.
What's happening here?
In the stillness you will find the peace you've yet to get. Skill up, get the training, know you're worth it more. Coaching guides you steady through the working war. Every new lesson opens another door. Don't settle for the grind when you can soar. Don't settle for the grind when you can soar. Document the battle, reclaim your voice. Freedom lies ahead in the choices that we make. Don't just survive IT. Escape from the crab bucket and be free. You've got to thrive IT. Tune in each week, it's the place to be.
Well, I think I like it better. Let's see what number 4 has for us here. I think I'll cut it off at this. Oh, wait. That's the same one, isn't it? Go forward. Oh, what in the world just happened there? Sorry, hang on a second. That's not right. I think that one is the one we want. There we go. There's number 4.
In the heart of incapable's bright screens glare, typing away the hours as you wrestle despair. You gotta draw the lines firm, let them know you care. Boundaries are your shield in the toxic air.
Reach out to the ones who got your back for real. Seek support, find those who feel what you feel. In numbers we are stronger, see how wounds heal. Together we can face this like iron and steel.
Don't just survive IT. Escape from the crab bucket and be free. You got to thrive IT. Tune in each week, it's the place to be. Communicate openly, don't let shadows stay. Clear the air, find the words you've been afraid to say. Truth cuts through the hurt, shows a better way. Let honesty guide you at the break of day. Don't just survive IT. Escape from the crab bucket and be free. You got to thrive IT. Tune in each week, it's the place to be. Communicate openly, don't let shadows stay. Clear the air, find the words you've been afraid to say. Truth cuts through the hurt, shows a better way. Let honesty guide you at the break of day. Don't just survive IT. Escape from the crab bucket and be free. You got to thrive IT. Tune in each week, it's the place to be. Self-care's not a luxury, it's a need unmet. Focus on your heart, let your soul reset. Find the time to breathe away from the net. In the stillness you will find the peace you've yet to get. Skill up, get the training, know you're worth it more. Coaching guides you steady through the working war. Every new lesson opens another door. Don't settle for the grind when you can soar. Document the battle, reclaim your voice. Freedom lies ahead in the choices that we make. Don't just survive IT. Escape from the crab bucket and be free. You got to thrive IT. Tune in each week, it's the place to be. Don't just survive IT. Escape from the crab bucket and be free. You got to thrive IT. Tune in each week, it's the place to be.
And this again.
Communicate openly, don't let shadows stay. Clear the air, find the words you've been afraid to say. Truth cuts through the hurt, shows a better way. Let honesty guide you at the break of day. Self-care's not a luxury, it's a need unmet. Focus on your heart, let your soul reset. Find the time to breathe away from the net. In the stillness you will find a peace you've yet to get. Skill up, get the training, know your worth and more. Coaching guides you steady through the working war. Every new lesson opens another door. Don't settle for the grind when you can soar. To get document the battle, reclaim your voice. Freedom lies ahead in the choices, that we make. Freedom lies ahead in the choices that we make. Don't just survey.
I'm not sure what to do with that. Well, let me know which ones you like most. We got 4 choices this time around. So let me know if you wanted the first one, the second one, third one, and the fourth one. Let me know what you think should be the theme song for this episode that just captures it so well, the emotion of it. It's all good. I have my favorite, but I'm not going to bias our votes here. So, but I have to say that I do have to wonder if I did a similar kind of thing, if I'd get a similar result for any of these. It's like it's almost like too good. You know what I mean? It's like it's too well orchestrated to be just generated on the fly. I think I'm starting to not believe that that's even possible at this point. But you never know. Maybe it is. And it truly is an original thing. It's always possible, right? So, yeah. But anyway, let me know what your favorite is, and we will include that when the podcast releases in December, I think, is when that'll actually be live. I need to look at my schedule again, but that's what it's going to be. So if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will try and get to them whenever I can. And as always, we will be back here. We will not be here next week. It'll be Thanksgiving week here in the U.S., and I have friends over, and so I'm going to focus my time on them. And so we'll be having a gap, and then we'll be back here on the 3rd of December. So we'll be back recording live the 3rd, or I'm contemplating moving this to Wednesdays, just as an FYI. My Tuesdays are becoming pretty crowded, and so I might move these to Wednesdays just for fun. If you have feedback on that, let me know as well. But until next time, yeah, get out the crab bucket.